The Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas marriage is once again at the center of intense Real Housewives speculation, and this time, the headlines are mixing two major storylines: millions of dollars in tax liens and rumors that the couple could be heading for divorce. But before believing the latest social media claims, there is an important distinction to make. Teresa Giudice is a longtime star of the Real Housewives of New Jersey, not the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And despite repeated divorce rumors, there is currently no confirmed evidence that Teresa and Louie have ended their marriage. In fact, the most recent public updates tell a very different story. Teresa and Louie got married in August 2022 after beginning their relationship several years earlier. Their wedding became one of the most talked about Housewives events of the year, and Teresa appeared determined to make it clear that she had found love again after her difficult marriage to Joe Giudice. But then came the financial headlines. In March 2025, court records showed that Teresa and Louie were facing more than $3 million in tax liens combined. According to E! News, Teresa's lien was approximately $303,889, while Louie's March 2025 judgment was approximately $2.57 million. An additional lien of about $163,524 was also reported against Louie from December 2024. That was enough to send Housewives fans into a frenzy. For Teresa, the story was particularly sensitive because her past financial problems had already played a major role in her public life. She and her former husband Joe Giudice previously faced federal fraud charges, and both eventually served prison sentences. Their marriage ended in divorce in 2020 after more than 2 decades together. So when news broke about another major financial problem involving Teresa's current marriage, fans immediately started asking the obvious question: could history be repeating itself? The answer, based on confirmed information, is no, not at this point. Rumors about Teresa and Louie getting divorced have circulated for years. Teresa herself addressed the speculation in 2024, saying the couple was not getting divorced and explaining that they did not need to spend every moment together to have a strong relationship. Then, in November 2025, Teresa addressed the divorce rumors again. Her message was extremely clear: the reports were fake news, and she said she and Louie were not getting divorced. And that is important because the internet has a way of turning speculation into supposed fact. A missing photo, a separate vacation, a social media change, or a financial headline can quickly become a story claiming that a celebrity marriage is over. But Teresa's recent public updates don't support that conclusion. In May 2026, Bravo reported on Teresa and Louie's family life, including Teresa's affectionate birthday message to her husband. Louie had also publicly expressed his love for Teresa, describing their relationship in emotional terms and talking about the future they were building together. Then in June 2026, Teresa shared more family moments involving Louie, including their Father's Day celebration and time spent together as a family. The coverage presented their relationship as ongoing and committed. So where does the "ended 20 years of love" headline come from? That appears to confuse Teresa's first marriage with her current one. Teresa and Joe Giudice were married for more than 20 years before their relationship ultimately ended. They share 4 daughters, and their marriage was heavily documented throughout Teresa's years on the Real Housewives of New Jersey. Teresa's relationship with Louie is a different chapter. They married in 2022, meaning their marriage is approaching its 4th anniversary in 2026, not the end of a 20-year marriage. And that distinction matters. The $3 million financial story is real as a reported matter of public court records, but saying that the debt proves Teresa and Louie are divorcing would go beyond the evidence. There has also been plenty of fan speculation about how the financial situation could affect Teresa personally. Some reports in 2025 quoted sources claiming that people close to Teresa were concerned about Louie's financial situation and the possibility that Teresa could become entangled in his problems. But those were allegations and opinions from unnamed sources, not proof that Teresa had decided to leave her husband. Teresa's daughter Gia also publicly pushed back against the dramatic financial narrative in 2025, saying that the family was under control and emphasizing how hard her mother had worked to provide stability for her daughters. That gives us a much more complicated picture than the viral headlines suggest. There is financial pressure. There have been tax liens. There have been repeated divorce rumors. And there is a long history of Teresa's personal life becoming part of the Housewives storyline. But none of that currently equals a confirmed divorce. If anything, the latest public evidence points in the opposite direction. Teresa and Louie continue to present themselves as a married couple, and Teresa's recent posts and Bravo coverage continue to show them together. That doesn't mean their marriage is perfect. No celebrity marriage is immune from problems, financial stress, or public scrutiny. But there is a major difference between saying, "Fans are questioning this marriage," and saying, "The marriage has ended." Right now, the first statement is supported by the enormous amount of online speculation. The second is not. And perhaps that is the biggest lesson from the Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas saga. When money problems and reality TV drama collide, the rumors can become almost bigger than the facts. For now, the confirmed story is that Teresa and Louie remain married, while the $3 million tax lien story remains a significant financial issue that has attracted enormous attention. Whether those financial problems eventually create new challenges for their marriage remains something only time will tell. But as of now, there is no confirmed Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas divorce. The marriage is still standing, the rumors are still circulating, and Housewives fans are still watching closely. The conversation surrounding Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas is far from over. But this time, the biggest question isn't simply whether their marriage is in trouble. The real question is how much pressure a relationship can handle when every part of their lives is being watched by the public. Teresa knows that pressure better than most reality TV stars. For years, viewers watched some of the most difficult chapters of her life unfold in public. Her first marriage, financial problems, legal troubles, prison, and the challenges of raising her daughters all became part of her story. So when Teresa entered a relationship with Louie, she appeared determined to build something completely different. She wanted a fresh start. She wanted stability. And most importantly, she wanted a future that wouldn't repeat the painful mistakes of her past. But once questions surrounding Louie's finances became public, the situation became much more complicated. And this is where fans started making comparisons. Words like debt, taxes, legal problems, and financial pressure immediately reminded some viewers of Teresa's previous marriage. But there is one major difference that should not be ignored. A financial controversy does not automatically mean that a marriage is ending. It may create stress. It may create difficult conversations. It may even put pressure on a couple. But without an actual divorce filing or confirmation from the people involved, saying that the marriage is over would be speculation. And that distinction is extremely important in Teresa's case. Teresa and Louie have continued to publicly present themselves as a married couple. They've appeared together for family occasions, celebrations, and important moments. Yet the online rumors haven't disappeared. Why? Because Teresa Giudice is not an ordinary celebrity. Her personal life has always been connected to her reality TV career. Every relationship, argument, celebration, and family problem can become part of a larger public conversation. Sometimes, even something extremely small can create a massive rumor. One missing photo. One separate appearance. One social media change. One financial headline. Suddenly, fans are asking whether a marriage is falling apart. And once that question begins circulating online, it can become almost impossible to stop. But a rumor and a confirmed fact are two completely different things. At this point, there is no confirmed announcement that Teresa and Louie have ended their marriage. Teresa has also addressed divorce rumors in the past and rejected them. So rather than saying, Teresa and Louie are getting divorced, the more accurate description is that their marriage has become the subject of intense speculation, especially following the financial controversy. And there is another important part of this story, their family. Teresa's 4 daughters, Gia, Gabriella, Mylania, and Adriana, have always been at the center of her life. Anyone who has followed Teresa knows that her children are one of her biggest priorities. That means any major decision involving her marriage would potentially affect much more than just Teresa and Louie. It would affect the entire family dynamic. Teresa and Louie have also had to navigate the challenges of bringing 2 families together. Blended families can be complicated even without cameras, public criticism, and financial headlines. Everyone comes into the relationship with their own history, expectations, and emotions. Add reality television to that situation, and the pressure can become enormous. This is why some fans are watching Teresa's relationship more closely than ever. But does that mean Teresa is ready to walk away? There is currently no confirmed evidence that she has made that decision. In fact, the public information available continues to show Teresa and Louie presenting themselves as a married couple. Another point that often gets lost in the headlines is the timeline. Teresa's previous marriage lasted more than 2 decades. Her relationship with Louie is a completely different chapter of her life. They married in 2022, so describing their current marriage as a 20-year love story ending would not accurately describe their relationship. That phrase is much more closely connected to Teresa's first marriage. And confusing the two relationships can make an already complicated story even more misleading. The bigger question now is what happens if financial pressure continues. Could ongoing financial problems eventually create tension inside the marriage? Could public scrutiny make things harder? Could Teresa decide that protecting her family means keeping more of her personal life private? Those are legitimate questions. But they are questions, not confirmed outcomes. The situation could change if new legal or financial developments emerge. It could also change if Teresa or Louie make a major public announcement. Until then, declaring the marriage finished would be premature. And perhaps that is what makes this story so fascinating. Teresa's life has already gone through enormous changes. She has rebuilt herself after a difficult first marriage. She has watched her daughters grow up. She has created a new relationship. And now she is facing another wave of public attention surrounding money and marriage. The question is whether this chapter will become another major turning point in Teresa's life, or simply another controversy that eventually fades away. For now, one thing remains clear. The divorce rumors are still being discussed. The financial controversy has attracted serious attention. The family dynamic remains important. And Teresa and Louie's marriage continues to be watched closely by Housewives fans. But until there is an official announcement, the claim that Teresa and Louie are divorced remains unconfirmed. Their story is still unfolding. And if the past has taught reality TV viewers anything, it's that with Teresa Giudice, the next chapter can arrive when absolutely no one expects it. There is another side to the Teresa Giudice and Louie Ruelas story that often gets overlooked. It isn't just about money. It isn't just about divorce rumors. And it isn't even just about what Teresa says publicly. It's about what happens when a reality TV relationship becomes bigger than the two people inside it. Teresa has spent years living under a microscope. Every relationship decision becomes a discussion. Every family moment becomes content. Every disagreement can become a headline. And every rumor has the potential to follow her for weeks or even months. That kind of attention can change the way people experience a relationship. Imagine trying to have a normal disagreement with your spouse while knowing that millions of people may eventually have an opinion about it. That is the reality Teresa and Louie have to deal with. And it raises an interesting question. Could the constant speculation itself become a source of pressure? Fans don't always see what happens behind closed doors. They see photographs. They see interviews. They see television episodes. They see social media posts. But there are countless conversations that never become public. That's why assumptions about celebrity relationships can be dangerous. A couple can look completely happy online while privately working through challenges. But the reverse can also be true. A couple can spend time apart or have separate schedules without their relationship being in danger. This is particularly relevant to Teresa because she has repeatedly shown that she doesn't necessarily live her personal life according to public expectations. She has her own schedule. Louie has his own responsibilities. Their family members have their own lives. And their relationship doesn't have to look exactly like the relationships fans see on television. That doesn't mean everything is perfect. It simply means outsiders don't have enough information to know everything happening inside the marriage. Then there is another factor, Teresa's career. Her name has become synonymous with Housewives drama. She has been part of some of the franchise's biggest moments, and viewers have watched her personality evolve over the years. But fame can create an unusual problem. Sometimes a person becomes so closely associated with drama that even ordinary life starts looking dramatic. A family disagreement becomes a feud. A financial problem becomes a marriage crisis. A quiet social media period becomes a breakup rumor. And suddenly the story takes on a life of its own. This is exactly why the Teresa and Louie situation deserves some caution. There are legitimate financial questions surrounding them. There is obvious public curiosity about their marriage. And there are plenty of opinions circulating online. But there is still a difference between those facts and the claim that the couple has officially decided to end their marriage. That distinction may become even more important if Teresa returns to the spotlight with a new Housewives storyline. Reality television thrives on unresolved tension. If there are questions surrounding Teresa's marriage, viewers will naturally want answers. Will she talk about the financial controversy? Will Louie appear more frequently? Will Teresa address the divorce rumors directly? Or will the couple choose to keep their private life away from the cameras? Each possibility could lead the story in a completely different direction. And Teresa's daughters could also influence how much she is willing to reveal. As her children have become older, their lives have increasingly become their own. Teresa has spent years trying to protect them from the most painful parts of her past. That may influence how she handles controversy now. She may be less interested in proving anything to strangers and more interested in maintaining peace within her family. That would represent a very different Teresa from the woman viewers first met years ago. Back then, her life was often defined by explosive arguments and dramatic confrontations. Today, she has experienced enough to understand the consequences of allowing every personal problem to become public. And that could explain why some questions remain unanswered. Silence doesn't necessarily mean a marriage is falling apart. Sometimes silence simply means someone doesn't want to give the rumor more attention. That's something fans should remember before believing every viral headline. At the same time, Teresa's history means people will continue to watch. Her first marriage ended after a long and complicated journey. Her second marriage began with hope and a promise of a fresh chapter. Now, the public is waiting to see whether that chapter remains strong as the pressures around the couple continue. The financial headlines may eventually disappear. The social media rumors may eventually move on to another celebrity couple. But the bigger issue is whether Teresa and Louie can maintain their relationship while living under constant public scrutiny. That is something no headline can answer. Only time can. And perhaps the most surprising part of this entire situation is that the biggest story may not be whether Teresa and Louie are divorcing. It may be whether Teresa has finally learned to separate her real life from the reality TV version of her life. Because after everything she has experienced, she may no longer feel the need to explain every decision. She may simply choose what is best for herself and her family. And if that happens, fans may have to accept that not every chapter of Teresa Giudice's life will be played out in front of the cameras. For now, the rumors continue. The questions continue. The speculation continues. But the final answer about Teresa and Louie's future remains theirs to give. And if they do decide to speak publicly about what is really happening behind the scenes, that conversation could completely change everything fans think they know about their relationship. Part 4. The next chapter of Teresa Giudice's story may not be about a breakup at all. It may be about control. After years of having her personal life discussed, analyzed, criticized, and turned into television drama, Teresa now has something she didn't always have before: the experience to decide what she wants the public to know. And that could completely change the way she handles the latest controversy. For years, Teresa's name has been connected to explosive headlines. She has survived public feuds, family conflicts, legal battles, relationship changes, and some of the most intense moments in Housewives history. But today, she is in a different position. She is no longer the same woman viewers met at the beginning of her reality TV journey. Her daughters are older. Her priorities have changed. And her approach to fame appears more calculated. That could become important if questions surrounding Louie continue. Instead of reacting to every rumor, Teresa may choose to let the noise pass. And that would be a major shift, because social media has completely changed celebrity culture. Years ago, a rumor might have taken days to reach the public. Now it can spread around the world within minutes. A short video can receive millions of views. A dramatic headline can be reposted thousands of times. And before the person involved has even had an opportunity to respond, the internet may already have decided what the story means. Teresa has experienced this cycle many times. So perhaps she understands that responding to every accusation can actually make the situation bigger. Sometimes saying nothing can be more powerful. But there is another possibility. Teresa could eventually decide to tell her side of the story in a much bigger way. If that happens, the audience may finally hear details that have never been discussed publicly. And that's where a future reality TV appearance could become especially interesting. Imagine Teresa sitting down in front of the cameras and addressing everything at once. The financial headlines. The relationship speculation. The questions about Louie. The reactions from her daughters. And the pressure of living through another highly publicized chapter. That kind of conversation would almost certainly attract enormous attention. But Teresa would also have to decide how much of her private life she is willing to sacrifice for television. Because once something is said on camera, it can be replayed forever. A sentence from an interview can become a headline. A reaction can become a meme. A disagreement can become an entire season storyline. And Teresa knows better than most how quickly reality television can transform personal problems into entertainment. That is why her next move may be more important than anything she has said so far. Will she confront the rumors? Will she ignore them? Will she allow Louie to speak for himself? Or will they simply continue living their lives without giving the speculation any more oxygen? There is also the possibility that Teresa could use this period to redefine herself. She has spent so much of her career being known as someone's wife, someone's mother, or one half of a famous reality TV couple. But Teresa has built a brand of her own. She has business interests. She has a large audience. She has appeared on television for years. And she has developed a fan base that follows her beyond the Housewives franchise. That means her future doesn't necessarily depend on what happens inside her marriage. Whatever happens next, Teresa has the ability to continue building her own identity. And that may be one of the biggest changes in her life. She no longer needs every chapter to look the way people expect. If she wants privacy, she can choose privacy. If she wants to address the rumors, she can address them. If she wants to focus on her children, her career, and her own future, she can do that too. Meanwhile, fans will continue watching. Some will believe the divorce rumors. Others will dismiss them completely. Some will focus on the financial headlines. Others will wait for Teresa herself to speak. And that divide will probably continue until something definitive happens. But one thing should remain clear. Speculation should not be treated as confirmation. A dramatic headline may attract clicks, but it doesn't necessarily tell the complete story. Teresa's relationship with Louie will ultimately be defined by what they decide, not by what strangers predict online. And perhaps that's the most interesting ending to this chapter. For once, the biggest question may not be whether Teresa Giudice is leaving someone. It may be whether she is finally stepping into a stage of her life where she decides exactly what she wants to keep and what she wants to leave behind. The cameras may continue rolling. The headlines may continue appearing. The rumors may continue circulating. But the final decision about her marriage, her family, and her future belongs to Teresa and Louie. Until they make that decision public, everything else is simply speculation. And considering Teresa Giudice's history, one thing is almost certain. Whatever happens next, the world will be watching.